Oh, hello. Welcome back. Back to the lovely little waiting room that we have here. And today we're here to talk about even more films, which I'm very excited about. And we got three bangers right up with the line. These are, I think, going to land somewhere in the top 20 of my 2022 list when that comes out next year. But I just wanted to quickly talk about them because they're all pretty terrific with something to them, and unfortunately two of them are not doing well, and the other one, of course, is the number one film in the world right now. But it's still very good, and I can see why people like it, and I really like it as well. So I just want to quickly talk about a lot of them. And that's why today we're going to talk about epic movies. And today we're going to start off the epic movie list with The Northman from director Robert Eggers, the director of The Vavitch and The Lighthouse, which the latter is one of my favorite films of all time. The Lighthouse is just phenomenal. It's phenomenal acting, story, terrific just descent into madness with wonderful filmmaking. And this film follows up with that specific element is the fantastic filmmaking, because this is just a wonderful film and a technical element. Camera, the way everything is lit, there's a terrific shot where it like goes through a forest and it kind of hooks into a boat which goes into our lead character, and I really liked that. It did kind of give this level of atmosphere, and it looked really good, and it seemed a little seamless, like how it transitions into like the zoom into the boat. The score was fantastic too. Production design and costumes as well. They looked very fantastic, and of course, and the dialogue as well. Robert Eggers just loves his authentic period pieces to be like basically like pitch perfect with the representation. And yeah, same here as well. I would say that it's not nearly as effective as it is in something like The Lighthouse, where the accents are more thick and the dialogue is way more like New Englandy, but still here it's pretty fantastic, and there are some pretty like terrific setups and payoffs that happen throughout the film. And not just that, but the actual story as well, as it's another retelling of Hamlet, and which, you know, if you've seen The Lion King, you already know the tale of Hamlet, or, you know, if you've seen Hamlet, you know Hamlet. And this is another really damn good like adaptation of that story. And really Alexander Skarsgård like just gives it his all, like really just like embracing this like pure warrior hidden within, trying to use that to go seek revenge against his uncle, against the murder of his father, which is not really a spoiler because that's in the trailer. That's the inciting incident for the film, and it's like The Lion King. Everybody knows this. Everyone knows that. But like there's just different like little twists and things they do shortly after that really do like set it off from things like that and make it far more brutal and contained, and it leads to a pretty fantastic like action sequence towards the end that felt very satisfying, with many different like character moments and beats along the way, especially the relationship that his character has with Anya Taylor-Joy, who's terrific once again. You know, saying Anya Taylor-Joy is terrific in a film is like saying water is a source needed for your body. It's a well-known fact, and it just did like captivate me throughout. I would say that like issues kind of go towards like there's some like ambiguous elements like that are just a bit too ambiguous for me. Not that like, you know, that's like, oh, I'm too dumb to understand this and I hate it because of, no, it's just like for me there's some imagery where I just didn't terribly understand it, and I wasn't able to understand what it was trying to communicate. And there is a bit of like maybe like every half hour there's like a 10-minute or 5 minutes part that where the pacing kind of slows down and disengages me quite a bit, where I'm like, all right, I wish we could just kind of keep on going. But you know, right after they just keep getting you right back into it, and again it leads to a really satisfying moment towards the end, a terrific battle which I like was like shaking my fist up in the air with excitement. That was pretty awesome. Technical wonderment of one pretty interesting story with, again, as I'm pretty sure I've said this like a trillion times now, but there's just really good twists, and just like especially too towards the end where my jaw was like actually dropped, especially like you'll know it when you see it. There's a twist and an action made towards the end in the village that was just like, oh my god, like okay, I'm ready for what happens next, and I just was excited. It's great to be excited during a film, and which is, you know, for me pretty much frequently, so it's awesome to see it like this. And it's nice to see Robert Eggers with a bigger budget. I don't think he's going to keep doing this, because he said that, you know, He was still restricted from doing what he wanted to do, but he still came out strong with this. And if this was still like a tampered with cut, it still shows that, hey, this is like, him and his A game. Like, this guy cannot fail. He does not lose. And I like that. This Northman is fantastic. It needs more money. Get out your wallets, pay the $20 on whatever service, watch it. Let's make it one of the most streamed films of the year so Robert Eggers can keep making movies forever. That's what we need as a society to keep living on. We need it. So yeah, The Northman by Robert Eggers is getting a swift, merciful, fantastic 4 out of 5 or an 8 out of 10. What I was looking for exceeded my expectations a little bit, and I got to give it some time to kind of sit, but I am looking forward for the day when I rewatch it, because it was pretty fantastic, and it shows, again, Robert Eggers, one of the best filmmakers working today. I can't wait to see what he does next. Northman's a little bit of a sad film, but I figured, hey, let's just transition into an even sadder film, and that is Gaspar Noé's new film, Vortex. This is also kind of notable because it stars Dario Argento, who is a classic 70s Italian giallo filmmaker. And while I have not personally seen a lot of these films, I am aware of the impact and just pure craft of Dario Argento. And that was something interesting. Like, okay, this is a filmmaker, and this is his first time acting, so I'm interested to see what that is, because so few filmmakers are terrific behind the camera and in front. And Dario Argento, just because he just proves that, like, hey, this man can work as an actor, because he's fantastic in this. He controls so many emotions and things within this film, that's something I should explain, is because this film deals with dementia, and the way the film is edited and executed is truly interesting, because it's a split screen of the husband's life and the mother's life, and the mother's the one that has dementia. So you're seeing both like perspectives play out of her, what she's seeing and doing, against like how this is impacting him and what he's kind of doing on the sidelines. And this like structure and like presentation made the film like so like interesting, engaging, and all the more heartbreaking, because you just see like she doesn't, like, the mother doesn't really know what she's doing or what's going on, so you're just kind of watching her kind of stumble around, and much like her, we don't really know what's going on with her doing much of that. And again, we're seeing the impacts of that with the father and his son, who joins later on in the film, and they're all just so fantastic. Not just Dario Argento, but the mother and the son too. They're both truly fantastic and do so many things within the emotions that the film presents, and especially it's just super heartbreaking. It's just it's a wonderful and heartbreaking look into the deterioration dementia has, not just on the person who it's affecting, but just on the family, of how it's affecting the son and his work, and what it eventually leads him to towards the end of the film, and the pure just dread and anxiety of the father and how he's reacting to this, not being sure. It felt realistic. It felt very like, not, I don't want to say documentary-esque, but it felt so real. It felt like you were just watching a real things unfold. And this presentation helps out a lot. The direction, writing, directing, and most of the stuff by Gaspar Noé himself was truly fantastic, and the team he assembled for this film was wonderful. It really hit hard. It became really like just depressing and upsetting to watch, and I don't think I would ever watch this film again, just because of just how heartbreakingly sad it is. But this is an important watch, and this is something beyond magnificent, and I really do hope that like just people watch, because not too many people are watching this, and I've barely seen anyone to say, not even on the film Twitter, of like that just mob, where not even one person goes, hey, new Gaspar Noé is out today. That also could be because of the release date, or the distribution, but that doesn't matter. The fact that this is out, it's available to watch, is pretty terrific, and this is something worth viewing. It's something that can give people an understanding of like how to handle someone with this, and I really liked it. It's heartbreaking. It's not the craziest Gaspar Noé film. Climax is still just insane. I like that film more, but this is still like a more important and deeply personal film that you can tell, and I love those. And it's just, I don't know, not a whole lot of words can describe this film. other than heartbreaking, magnificent, and just eye grabbing. You know, it was hard to look away. And the other two people I saw seemed to really like it because they were kind of tearing up and just talking about it long after the film ended, which is nice, and I liked that a lot. So yeah, the Vortex by Yaspung Noé is getting a wonderful, really well-deserved 4 out of 5, equivalent to a 8 out of 10. Important watch, very engaging, worth it, and all the more, yeah. That's right, baby. It's time to talk about another Marvel thing. We already talked about Marvel last time with Morbius, one of the worst films ever, maybe. But luckily, it's a good Marvel film we're talking about today, because today we're going to be talking about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness by Sam Raimi. And I was not really looking forward to this film. Nothing against it. I just was like, you know, I'm in that phase of MCU where I'm just like, I'll like it if I see it. But I was particularly a little bit more attracted towards this film because it was by Sam Raimi, who I think is my favorite filmmaker. I just love all of his films. Army of Darkness is probably my favorite of his, and I was hoping that this film would allow him to do his thing, do crazy camera angles, do interesting stuff with ghosts and ghouls, a poignant story about the hero and his journey, and that was something I was afraid that this film wasn't going to be, and the way people were hyping it up in the trailers of like a cameo-filled fest, I'm like, oh no. But luckily, this film is not what I expected it to be, because in many ways, it is just a Sam Raimi film, which was like the one thing I wanted from this film. And there's like a point, I would say it's when Wanda goes to attack Comertage, I believe is the name of the building. And that's like when like it completely like becomes just like what I expected it to be, because there's unique stuff with the cameras, they do some cool stuff with reflections and like the ghouls, like there's stuff like referencing the Evil Dead, and from then on it just becomes a blast to watch. I think the look of the film is pretty good. Their saturation is noticeably better than a lot more of the MCU films. I think that the acting from just like, you know, like every MCU thing, it's adequate. But it was particularly good in this. Everyone knew like what this was and like how kind of delightfully goofy they wanted it to be. So they played along with it, and yeah, and I liked the dynamic between Doctor Strange and America Chavez. I think they did a pretty good job together. And I really did like the overall just twists and turns of the story, the way things would be subverted, especially the sequence with the Illuminati and like what follows after that was pretty dang cool. And I was like, yeah, especially with like the violence that occurs with it, which was, I'm not gonna say surprisingly violent, but it was more than like what was expected. And it was pretty dang cool. I was like, oh, okay, there's like actual stakes with what's going on. And that's cool. And something else I should also mention is Olsen, because I think she does a pretty good and terrific job with the film as well. There's a good like expansion of what happens with her in the WandaVision show, and kind of like still seeing as what she's doing as a good thing that benefits her rather than seeing how it's harming those around her. And I really did think she did a pretty dang good job as a villain in this film. Yeah, and I really did just like just the overall style of the film. This is like one, like maybe the, no, because Guardians of the Galaxy's in this universe. This is maybe like what, like the third MCU film that feels like it was made by an individual that has a person's creative touch within it. That makes it like one of the better ones for me, I think, because I just liked that. I loved it, and especially the last, I think, like, what was it, like half hour when it's just Sam Raimi cranked up to the max. I was like, this is just awesome. It's everything I wanted from this and more. And especially like the editing is something I kind of noticed. The other ones are like adequate. There's some like good, okay editing, but here there's some pretty cool like transitions. There's cool like fades and a lot more interesting stuff that they do with the visuals to communicate exposition and other things that they really don't in a lot of the other MCU films, and they feel straight out of like Spider-Man 2002 and 2004, which I was incredibly happy to see. And I'm like, see, this is just fantastic. Sam's back, baby. Sam's back. And especially one moment towards the end with like a zombie type character, and I thought that was just like awesome. I actually almost applauded. I was like, this is just awesome. And another cool thing to just geek out about is I loved like there's like a musical notes fight with like these two characters, and they're like using like musical notes from sheets to kind of like throw at one another, and the way that scene is done, especially the sound and camera movements, it was actually like super entertaining. I was actively engaged in what was going on, and I was like, "Ah, I hope that what happened. I hope that the good guy wins in this scenario. This is awesome. It's just super cool, and it did feel like, yeah, again, Sam Raimi just doing his thing, and I loved that. And the negatives, say that every now and then the film doesn't become too engaging. The cameos are like whatever, but still fairly well implemented. There's some weird, like, you can kind of tell the reshoots of certain things because the guy of Wong, he'll have like he has like longer hair in the beginning, but then all of a sudden, like when like Wanda captures him and all this stuff, his hair is comically like shorter, and then at the end of the film his hair is like long again, and you're like, it's like, it feels like the Fantastic Four one, but I'm just so engaged in what's going on in the film, I really don't notice. I think that's it. Like, I can't really remember many negatives because I just had a really good time watching the film all in all, and it surprised me a lot more, and I'm happy I watched it a second time because the first time I really had to sit down like, what did I like and what did I not like? But watching it again just kind of as a movie, I enjoyed it a lot, and I was happy to see that this wasn't a mess and like just some like hodgepodge studio piece. Like, this was something that people cared about, and even though it wasn't going to be how Scott Derrickson wanted to do it, they still did a very good job. And Sam Raimi, man, just, I just hope he comes. I hope because of this he makes more films. A decade is too long of a break. He needs to make one like every week for me. It will satisfy me. It's just, I need it. I need it. So yeah, it was a surprisingly good time. You probably have already seen it. If you haven't, it's worth a watch. And if you haven't seen it, you can probably check out like one of those 100 showtimes that they have that it plays every half hour at your local cinema today. So yeah, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is getting a wonderful, out of this multiverse, 4 out of 10, or no, 4 out of 5, which is equivalent to an 8 out of 10. Wonderful, and if they do a Doctor Strange 3 or any other Marvel film, just bring Sam Raimi back, because no one else can do it like him. And I this film has made me appreciate Sam Raimi more. I'm like, just need him back. We need more of him. So yeah, those are more of the films I've seen. I like those ones a lot. I hope that you all check these ones out, preferably the former two, because it's a good time for cinema right now, and I liked a lot of them. And if any cool new one comes out after this video, I'm gonna talk about them because that's what I do. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Follow the Letterboxd, the Instagram, the tweeters, the Fudgiver, and Thank you so much. Peace.